Okay, welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and in the next episode of Interviews with the Gurus, we have Carrie Konya. She's from Sedona, Arizona, and she is an integrative healing practitioner. She weaves so many practices. She has a background in movement, and she has been a professional belly dancer like myself for many years. And she got into yoga. And since a very young child, I know she's been psychic. And over the years, she has developed her skills and blended the two beautifully into a practice that she's calling integrative healing. And I think that it's something that a lot of women should hear about today, because I feel like, especially right now when we're all at home and, we're trying to keep in shape and keep our minds healthy as well, learning yoga and meditation is essential. And it's not as hard as people think it is. And it's really important to find a leader. And so Carrie is one of those leaders. And so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be with you here today. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your practice. Now, I know that, having, a background in dance, that you also do some sacred dancing like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you also do, workshops and retreats, and now you're doing online things. So just,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days.
Okay. So these days, let's see, I'll start by, as you said, I live here in Sedona and I've lived here for a long time. I've lived here for 17 years. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio. I have been a lifelong dancer, yogini, psychic reader, all of these things I started doing 35 years ago professionally. And so it's been a lifelong journey for me. And so
you come from some women, other women, your mother and your grandmother were also dancers as
yes,
well, right? So this is like a long
yes,
female tradition in your family.
yes. My grandmother and her sister were both lifelong career acrobatic dancers for Ringling Brothers Circus.
That is amazing. See, your DNA
Yeah.
can't lie,
Yeah. And I swear, like my mom told me I started walking when I was 7 months old, but I have a literal memory of me being like probably 6 or 7 months old and struggling to pull myself up using a chair or something. And I swear it was because there was music on and I wanted to dance.
I swear
So,
to God, that's, yeah.
yeah. And so crazy thing is my grandmother passed away when I was probably like in third grade. Many years after that, my grandfather ended up dating a belly dancer.
Oh my gosh.
And so my first time of seeing a belly dancer was being with my parents and my grandfather going to see his girlfriend perform at a restaurant, like somewhere in Cleveland.
Wow.
And I remember like just drooling over her glitz and her beauty and sparkly. And I was like, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Girl, I'm telling you, I have a similar story. So many of us, we just are like, it just, the goddess comes through, and there's
Yeah.
no judgment, you just get that pure feminine, divine feminine power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so wonderful that, you were able to explore that as a career,
Yes.
and that it came through your lineage. So, tell us a little bit about, the workshops that you're doing, and how, how you're applying some of these ideas.
Yes. So I specialize, I work with people from, all walks of life, all kinds of people, but I do particularly love working with women and women's spirituality. And so I'm very much into living in alignment with the cycles of nature, which includes obviously the planets, astrology, the elements, the turnings of the cycles of the seasons. Actually, my mother started teaching me that when I was a very young girl. My mother was you know, if I think about it, my mother was like my first spiritual teacher. She started teaching me basic astrology when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I still have the first book that she gave me, which was Linda Goodman's Sun Sign. She gave it to me for my 11th birthday, and I still have that book to this day.
Back here.
Yes.
It's wild.
And
you know,
she
and we came from that generation of women in the 70s that were like, you know.
Yes. And my mother was one of those women, and she empowered me to, and she was also very earth-based spirituality. So she really sort of mentored me in the way of the importance of living in alignment with the cycles of nature. And so for me, raising up with those teachings, combined with my natural love for movement and dance, sort of culminated into a natural awareness of how things can fit together. And so then when I was about in my young 20s, I started actually researching sacred dance, which was based on like epiphanies of awareness that I had had through healing that I was able to recognize that I could attribute to the freedom of expression that I had in dance. When I was about 24 years old, I had an injury and I had to stop dancing for a while. And because of that injury, I turned to yoga as a last ditch effort to try to heal. It was a shoulder injury. And doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. X-rays, chiropractor, it was like an anomaly. I literally was like, this arm was paralyzed completely. When I first started my journey in yoga, I couldn't do any down dogs or planks or anything. At 24 years old, a professional dancer. But I stuck with it. And after about 6 months of weekly yoga, my injury was 100% cured. And I've never stopped doing yoga since then.
Wow.
And
You were
so,
living proof.
yeah. And I don't know what it was or how it happened, but I was like, hey man, it worked. I'm sticking with it. And so now I love incorporating yoga, dance, creative, expressive movement in ways that are aligned with sacred feminine wisdom teachings that come from different lineages, from yoga, from indigenous cultures from around the world. My mother was more into like European shamanism, Celtic, Wicca, so I incorporate that. Things from shamanic traditions. In fact, my belief is that even yoga is an ancient practice of shamanism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's Venus, when you get down to it, Venus is sacred geometry, it's symmetry, it's movement, and the variety of nature. Those are the parts of nature that are Venus. And so that's, you know, the creative also impetus in nature to want to create, you know, to make a fractal and keep fractaling, you know, that's very Venus, you know?
Yes.
And so what I find, especially with women, is that, you know, we're attracted to these healing arts, not because, yes, you know, it's fun to put on costumes and the music is great and it's fun to dress up and all that, but it's what's happening inside our bodies when the music hits us and that sacred geometry hits our body, and you're in line with everything.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of the movement, you know, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand about the healing practices of movement. I mean, you look at Dr. Emoto's research on water.
Right.
And how, you know, all the different samples he did, you know, the water, he chanted, you know, I love you over it, and the beautiful crystalline patterns in it. And then he chanted, I hate you in this one. It was all distorted and ugly. And that's
and
us.
as we know, our bodies are mostly water. And as you know from your experience as a dancer, I know when I dance, I'm like in the now, in my bliss. And that has been the most healing medicine for me in my life. So today, back to your question.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, what I do today is I do many retreats a year here in Sedona. Some of them are for women. Some of them are open to everyone. Anything from, you know, an emotional healing retreat, personal empowerment retreat, yoga retreats, shamanic wisdom teachings retreats. I do many a year
really
here.
appeals to me, and it appeals to so many dancers. you know,
Mm-hmm.
because as dancers, you know, professional dancers, we're trained to think about the audience's eye. What does
Yes.
the audience see? But when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
sacred dancing, it's about the energy you're exchanging. Like when I'm dancing for Ganesha, that's my audience, you know?
Yes,
And so that's,
exactly.
I'm literally performing for him, and the energy exchange that I get for just he and I, whoa, it is so much more powerful than what happens on stage. And I'm performing, and it's not that it's not important what's happening on stage when you're a performer.
Right.
It's different. And if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't experienced the difference in the two energies, I invite you to study with Carrie, because she can lead you through that path of finding how to make your, you know, not make yourself the center, but to dance for yourself, you know, to dance
And
for spirit.
find your center,
Yeah.
right? And as you're talking about like dancing for Ganesha, as I was saying earlier, I do have training in the Indian classical dance Bharatanatyam, which is considered a high form of yoga and a sacred dance. In ancient times, the dancers who trained in Bharatanatyam were considered to be married to the gods of the temples that they were assigned to. And of course, this all relates to what we're talking about with the turnings of the celestial bodies and how that relates to sacred geometry, the different elements, and in all of that. So, and I really feel that in the realm of dance, belly dance is similar. It's very much connected with the natural rhythms and cycles of the earth naturally. Like, even if you don't know that, you don't have to know it for you to benefit from those aspects. And then yoga, and it all interrelates with the chakras. Like, I feel like the chakras are the connecting points between any form of and the mood.
Oh, it was breaking up. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay.
now. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. There was a little
Mm-hmm.
glitch. Can you just repeat? The chakras are the intersection between the movement and,
Yes. Yeah. I feel like the chakras are the commonality point in which, you know, whether you're doing classical hatha yoga or any form of creative movement or dance, you're activating in your body the elements that the chakras relate to, the planets that the chakras relate to, the zodiac signs that the chakras relate to. So that's why I'm saying I feel that the chakra work is the connecting point. Does
yes,
that make sense? Mm-hmm.
yes. And from what I understand, the way Joni Petrie, my teacher, teaches it is that Saturn is the root,
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter is the second, Mars is the third, Venus is the fourth, Mercury is the
Yes.
fifth, the sun is the third, or the third eye. And that's the one that blew me away, because I was
Yes.
like, wait a second. And then the moon is the crown. And then of course you're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to have one up here and one underneath. And I think there's a couple other, but you know, those are
I
the
think I
main
do have a
planets.
screenshot. I think I have an image of that I could share real quick. Let me
Sure.
take a look. And
Yeah.
of course, like different, let's see, did I pull that one up? I guess I did not pull that one up.
Okay,
So
no, I mean, but that's just so people know that, like, because it's a different taking than I think what is taught in the West.
yeah, and there's different systems use different things, but like, you know, and there's some systems that might associate, you know, like Mars can be the third chakra, but you
Right,
could also see the sun is that. So there's some that, you know, the sun could be for solar plexus and the third eye chakra.
right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So it's just a matter of what system you align with, or I
right,
try to just find whatever the most consistencies are between the various systems.
right. Now, who did you study? What's the Hatha yoga teacher that you studied with? Because I mean, I know there's different teachers and different followings. So,
Yes.
what's your background training in that?
So the first, you know, I've had many different teachers and mentors as far as yoga classes. The first yoga teacher training that I did is through the Yogic Sciences Research Foundation. They're based out of Lansing, Michigan, and they are connected to the Bihar School in India, which takes a very medical approach to how the energy that you're working with is affecting the endocrine system of the body, which is, of course, connected to the chakras and all of that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would have been your interest with that shoulder too, trying to heal yourself.
And then many, with a woman named Satori, and her thing is Satori Yoga. And she is really sort of less about the structure and more about the heart.
Yeah.
More about the presence.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that was a really good balance for me.
Which is important because, you can do all the mantras in the world, but if you're not feeling them with your heart, they're not going to be they're not going to work as well. They're just not going to. And same thing with creative visualization. You can say these positive affirmations all day long, but the words aren't all that matters. It's what you're feeling, because that's the energy that's coming out. So,
and it's the same with dance, as you know. You could be like an immaculately choreographed technical dancer with zero soul coming out, or you can be maybe not so technically skilled but have soul coming out, and that is the dancer that's going to create meaningful experiences for the people who are observing.
Correct. Absolutely. Very well said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
what can people sign up with for you? What do you have going on online that they can?
Okay, so now I'm in the process of organizing different online programs. Some of them I've been putting out free material since on a new YouTube channel that I recently started since we've been on quarantine. I took the past 4 weeks off because of just craziness happening right now in it, astrologically. Maybe we can talk about what's going on that aside from quarantine and coronavirus. This is an extreme time of transformation.
Eclipse season, and we got the eclipse in minus 6 days, 5 days, 6 days, I think.
And retrogrades happening and blah blah blah. So anyway, I'm putting free material out there on my YouTube channel. I'm designing courses that I can do live with people through Zoom, which I'm still developing. And those courses are going to be more along the lines of learning how to develop your intuition, getting grounded in, essential tools for spiritual awakening. And then that will lead to more advanced courses for people who are wanting to go into those fields maybe more professionally as healers, things like that.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I would love if you did some kind of like, morning yoga class, where we could have like a morning meditation, get up and stretch, kind of come in your pajamas,
I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm taking a note of that right now.
And do some, because I get up and I just do some whirling and I do some dancing and stuff with Ganesha, and then, I do my mantras, and, you get into these, kind of, not ruts, but you get into a pattern, and it's nice to have something different to say, hey, oh gosh, I can come on here and I don't have to be dressed. I can come on my pajamas and I can do some yoga with Carrie, because she's in Sedona, and we're on the East Coast 3 hours later. So, I mean, it's that kind of fun. And, I would totally pay for that. And I know I'm not alone.
Cool. Yeah, I did put a few yoga flows on my channel, just like 3 or 4. I was doing like one a week for like quarantine. So
keep it up, man. It's fun. I love that, because we just, got to remember that we're leaders, and, it's up to us to just kind of put things out there and get people onto the right path, because so many of us are going onto the wrong path right now. Mm-hmm. I think, when I was writing the lunar eclipse report that's coming up, on the 5th, it's in Scorpio in Jyeshtha Nakshatra, and that's the star Antares. which
Okay.
who has as its counterpart Mars. So the energy is, you know, like Mars, and it's Jastra is the eldest sibling. And there's a lot of themes of jealousy and betrayal seen in this nakshatra. And
Yeah, it feels like I guess it would be like a Mars Scorpio lunar.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's the war energy. It's the soldier energy of Mars that we're seeing right now with that, you know, these protests erupting in the streets everywhere.
Yes.
I never in a million years would think that was the expression of this lunar eclipse, but here we are, you know.
Yeah. So if we want to talk about how astrology can be interweaved in yoga, and this is what I do in my life, is I will look at the astrology, and I do rely on people like you and other astrologers that I follow to inform me of the details of the astrology, because I definitely follow astrology, but I don't consider myself an astrologer, but I really
everybody
use
has
it to align
time
with
to
my
look
life.
stuff up, you know. That's why I do this.
Right.
I know that, like, you know.
And so with what's going on astrologically now, with what you're saying about the energy of this eclipse, warrior poses, right? You know, if it's about that warrior energy, then we want to harness it in the light perspective rather than the shadow perspective.
The peace warrior.
Yes. Yep. Warrior 1, warrior 2, peaceful warrior, any of that realm of asana would be a good practice during this time.
Yeah, and Mars is in Aquarius right now. I can't remember which nakshatra is in. I think is it in Purva Bhadrapada or Uttara, but it's in either one, which indicates the legs, especially the calves and the ankles. So doing the warrior pose would be perfect.
I think I have Mars and Aquarius in my natal chart. Looking.
Yeah, so you're going to be feeling
I do.
a lot. Yeah, so you're probably having a Mars return, and so yeah, you're the peace warrior. You know, this is time to be a rebel and a revolutionary, but
that makes sense, man. That's what I'm doing now.
But don't cause riots. Don't hurt innocent people. I'm not in line with that. I don't think it's cool.
Yeah. No,
I mean, I'm not going to get political or anything, but I'm always about helping people and not hurting people. You know,
me too.
And so if you have to make your point by hurting people, then maybe it wasn't I don't know, maybe you should find a better way.
Yeah,
anyway,
totally.
So, anyway, but Venus is, you know, she's one of the gurus, you know, Jupiter being the other. And the difference, I mean, there's a lot of differences, let's face it, but Venus teaches Tantra.
Yes, which is the ecstaticness of the now moment, right? Which I believe also relates to the heart chakra.
That's right. That's the Venus.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps when you said that. So it's so interesting. We both wanted to wear white today. All this, you know, negative energy around. I'm just like, oh, I just need to wear white.
And we didn't even plan it. We did not color coordinate for those of you watching. We both showed up in white.
Yeah. And that's Spirit's way of saying, you know, this is a message of peace, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's so important for us to, like you said, stay in line with the growing seasons. And we were talking a little bit before the video about the applications of the tropical zodiac and how we have found that it works because it is the growing season. And that's why it's, you know, the axis is taken out so that it is in line with the sun. But the point is that when you are in line with the growing season, you know, regardless of where you think the planets are, it's right. You're in the moment. And that is that very, you know, tantric energy of embracing the now and surrendering to the now. And so one of the ways you use the tropical zodiac in your practice is giving people a monthly guide of the energy of the month and how they can use that in their yoga. So do you want to show your screen share?
Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit about that here. So this one that I'm having here, where did it go? Here it is. And I'll share this. All right. Is that pulling up good?
Yes, let me get this out of the way down here.
Okay. So this is a little chart that I devised based on the different energies of the wheel of the year that I completely researched based on the sun cycles, the moon cycles. And so it moves through the elements of earth, air, fire, water. And so what I will do is, you can see January to release the old, begin anew, February, purify, initiate, quicken, just for some keywords. March, grow, cultivate. So by the time we get to to March, we're coming into the spring equinox. So the energy is beginning to shift. So it's going from growing to developing to making conscious choices around energy circulating. Then as we come into summer, union, leadership, intentions, being in your wisdom, cultivating prosperity. And it goes on through the wheel of the year. But then what I do, so this is based on, how we move, the sun is coming into the different zodiac signs and the new moon and the full moon. But then what I will do is I will align that with what's actually going on in the now astrologically to give things even more of a specified interest. So, let me get out of this screen share here. So there's so many different aspects of yoga beyond the hatha yoga practice. So, if there's like a big Mercury thing going on, maybe we're doing more chanting that month.
Right.
Right.
Like if Mercury's retrograde and it's causing everybody problems, it's like, well, you know what, maybe we should be working on our mantras a little bit more.
Yes. And if there's, a lot of things happening with planets associated with the element of air, then maybe we're doing more pranayama, breath work. If there's, a big sort of Piscean influence with what's going on, then maybe it's more meditation so I do that in my own yoga practice. That's how I keep my own yoga practice in sort of this dynamic support of growth. And when I teach yoga classes, I'm always customizing the practices that I'm creating for my students completely based on this.
Right. Now, for instance, right now, Venus is retrograde in Taurus. What are you doing to work with that energy?
Right. So Venus retrograde Taurus. So we know that Venus retrograde is a time of reevaluating with things having to do with relationships, things of that nature. And Venus is, it's naturally associated with Taurus energy. So it's things about, beauty, enjoying your, the environment that you're creating. So I would say in yoga, it would be a reflection of your self-love, a reflection of cultivating your sense of inner spiritual beauty, and how when it goes direct, you might want to express that and reflect that outwardly.
Right. And Taurus, the face, I think, spa treatments and, self-care stuff,
and it could even extend into, maybe when it goes direct, you're inspired to completely redecorate your living room or something like that.
Well, we're finishing ours now. That's one of the expressions of this. It's finally getting done during the retrograde. I'm loving this Venus retrograde because in my Navamsha, my Venus is in Taurus. So I'm having that, double whammy, and I'm actually enjoying this time. It can stay retrograde awesome. Taurus forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this intense Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrograde we have right now in Capricorn, and by the end of June, Jupiter's going to go back into Sagittarius and sit with Ketu again.
Yes.
So how are you integrating that energy into your yoga practice? Like how, because this is like super intense.
Yeah, for me, it's particularly intense because in Western astrology, I am a Capricorn, and in Vedic astrology, I am a Sag. So I'm like,
right now,
I'm getting hit. So for me,
afterward.
Yeah. So for me, especially with the Saturn energy, that it's an energy of I want to say butting heads, but just on the energy level. So for me, my yoga practices are more about tuning into my peace as a remedy for that harsh energy. So I'm not trying to resist that harsh energy. I'm cultivating inner peace to sort of allow it to flow through, if that makes sense.
That's beautiful. No, that's beautiful. It totally makes sense. Yeah, you are, you're surrendering, and that's K2.
Yes.
You know, that's Lord K2. He says, you know, let go of your ego, surrender.
Yep.
And
That's what I'm doing in my life, whatever's highest and best. I'm not pushing or forcing, which the energies that are happening right now are that sort of pushy, forcey energy. But I'm just like, I'm not, and that's what I mean by the butting heads. It's almost like it wants to instigate that energy, but I'm not falling for the trap.
Right. So like when you get up and do your yoga every day, what do you find yourself doing naturally these days?
So for me, it has been feeling for the past month or so to be very much of an inward time. So right now I'm not doing power vinyasa. I'm more yin, more holding poses, gentle breathing, lunar, calming.
Yeah.
So that's how it shows up for me. And of course, you know, yoga studios are just now starting to open around here. So I haven't been teaching my normal group classes in a few months because of the quarantine thing. But in my own practices, it's become way more yin, which normally I am more of a power vinyasa type of person, you know?
Did you study hot yoga? Did you do the Bikram?
I like the sequence without the heat. I have a lot of pitta.
See, I have a heat allergy. There's no way I could do that.
I have a lot of pitta as far as my dosha. And so I'm already always too hot.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so I do like
on that one.
Yeah.
I'm a sweater too. Like I'm just right there with the face sweat, you know?
Yeah. Me too. Me too. And so I like vinyasa. I like the Bikram sequence, but personally for me, I don't do well with the heat.
Yeah. No,
I sort of subscribe to the idea. Like, I think that, you know, with the hot yoga, if it's wintertime and I have a cold that I'm trying to burn out, then yeah, I'll do it. But that's about it. I really like the idea of relying on your body's own internal heat mechanisms. It's almost like if I'm always taking a particular, like if I'm always taking melatonin to help me sleep, like a lot of people do, my brain is going to stop producing its own.
Oh, really? Is that what's happening to me? Uh-oh.
So
I have to have it. I can't sleep.
Yeah. So luckily for me with melatonin, I don't know what it is, but I cannot take it because it gives me like psychologically horrifying nightmares. I don't know why, but it does. So when I need help sleeping, I take passion flower, works for me. But things that are more like hormonal, like melatonin and things like that. And so I'm using it as an analogy. Like if I'm always relying on external heat for cleansing, my body's own internal mechanisms for building heat don't need to operate if the heat is coming from external.
Got it.
That's my philosophy around hot yoga.
Right. Well, I just feel like, it's one form of modern yoga, and it's like anything that branches off of the main branch, it's going to get some flack, you know?
Yeah.
But it's helping somebody. So who am I to say, that they shouldn't be doing it, right?
Right. Yeah. To each his own, some people love it.
On what you're doing lately is, focusing on the yin and the cooling things and things that are just, that's what I find myself doing. And in my dance practice, I found that a lot of the shapes that are coming out are very round and circular.
Fluid. And
very fluid, I'll do this practice. I have this oriental rug and I have Ganesha in front of it. And the practice is to stay on the circle. And as you're staying on the circle, you just start making yantras, the sacred geometry shapes that just naturally occur, and air designs and things, and everything is just like calming and very feminine and soft.
And that's really nurturing the energy of now. And that's the thing that I love about doing these practices, is because it really does tap you in on an experiential level to, you know, what's going on in the movements of the celestial bodies. And so even if you don't logically know exactly what's happening astrologically, you can feel it in your body.
Hey, listen, the Grahas are the planets, you know? Graha means to grasp. They have a grasp on us
Yes.
because their frequency, I mean, it's quantum entanglement, right? We are quantumly entangled because we're in the same solar system. And that's also my excuse for why the outer planets work in Vedic astrology, is because it's a holistic solar system. We all are in this together, you know?
Yes.
And so as above, so below. And so that's how those
Exactly.
energies can affect your body. And that's why I think it's so important, especially for people that study Vedic astrology, is to get out of your head and get into your body. It is so
Yes.
easy to stay cerebral. And even with the mantras, you're saying them, it's in your head, it's your mouth, right? Get out of your head, get into your body, and allow the energies to work through you. Give yourself a space for this to work. Don't think about a choreography, you know, don't think about performing for people or what it looks like, you know. Just work with the energy, and it's magic. I'm telling you, magic happens.
Yes. And I feel that that's why astrology and yoga really go hand in hand, because astrology is a science that points, is a map of what's going on psychologically, spiritually. And, you know, the fluctuations that happen with the cycles and the, what do I want to say? The cycles of the planets represent or are connected to the fluctuations that happen in us mentally and emotionally. And yoga is a practice that teaches us how to hold calm space within that, rather than getting sucked into the energy of it. It helps us to like find that soulful eternal now within what's going on, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now tell everyone a little bit about your shop, because you and your husband, who's from Egypt, have been importing things from Egypt, and you now have a place called the El Khan Bazaar, which is in Uptown Sedona. And you know, you just got some really beautiful items, and I know you're always posting things on Instagram, so follow her on Instagram. And you can also, I know you can order things from you online. And so don't worry about not being able to get to Sedona right now. You know, whatever she has, she can ship it for you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our shop is El Khan Bazaar, and it's Uptown Sedona. We do import a lot of different items from Egypt, ranging from jewelry. We have a lot of like handcrafted pharaonic and Bedouin sterling silver, which I love as a belly dancer. You know, that was the first thing I started buying. We have amazing, superior quality essential oils from Egypt, which Egyptians basically invented essential oils. So they're like superb. We have a home decor. We have all kinds of like Hamza, evil eye talismans, incense, you know, you name it. And then it's blended with, so that's sort of, you know, his influence and then my influence through belly dance. We do also have belly dance accessories. And then it's blended with some yogic related things as well, which is a part of my influence. Like we have ohms and different things you would use for yoga, mala beads. We have both traditional 108 bead mala beads, and we have the Sufi 99 bead ones as well. Yeah. And then, you know, chakra candles, sort of making it a little bit more metaphysical as well. We are, you can follow our shop on Instagram at El Khan Bazaar Sedona. And then our website is El Khan Bazaar, and we do have online shopping as well.
It's ELKHAN, correct?
Yep. And then BAZAAR. Yep.
And I'll put
All
the
kinds of
link
things.
below in the comments for your website and for the shop, and
Thank
Instagram, all
you.
that. That way you guys can go straight there because you've got some really beautiful things. So
Yeah.
visit the next time I come to Sedona.
I can't wait to see you here again. And then I do have I have a space there for seeing my clients for readings and stuff as well. So
And so
yeah.
when people come to see you there, they can get a psychic reading, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so you're kind of like a clairvoyant tarot reader, right?
Yep. Yep. Clairvoyant, tarot. And then from there, you know, spiritual guidance, which is rooted in yoga philosophy. I am also a certified life coach, specialized training in relationship coaching. But you know, for the spiritual guidance, I rely a lot on, you know, what pulls from yoga philosophy, because I find that the yoga philosophies for spiritual growth are present in every single path in life.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to convey messages to people through that modality that everyone can relate with. And that's what I'm about, you know?
Well, you are just an angel. I'm telling you.
Aww.
My heart just sings when I'm around you because it's, you know, I've been around a lot of dancers and, you know, I love everyone, but I just felt a very special connection with you. You know, we're both Midwestern girls. You
Yeah.
know, we both have mamas who were, you know, in the arts, performing arts. And I
Yes.
felt, you know, that, especially, you know, you're such a bright light. And I feel like, you know, it's really important for the women to step forward and lead right now.
Yes, me too. And
Because
I feel the same with you. You are equally bright light, sister.
oh, thank you so
Like
much.
you know, as soon as we met several years ago in Sedona, I felt like a soul sister connection with you for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I love you so much, and I'm
I
so
love you too.
thank you, and I'm so happy that you're doing this work. Because you know, like I said, we see, you know, with all this tension, with all these retrograde planets and the riots going on and the eclipses and blah blah blah. That is not the
Yeah.
way, man. It's the way is not, and you know, and today, of course, SpaceX put up a rocket into space. I mean, talk about male energy. Talk about a
Yeah.
male approach.
I felt weird today
Enough,
all day.
enough, you guys.
I'm
Enough,
like,
enough.
was there solar flares today? Because I felt like weird all day, like dizzy, like abnormally. I don't know. Maybe it was that
Yeah,
rocket going up.
yeah. Well, it's like it's an end to the male approach to
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And this is what Chief Golden Light Eagle says, you know, that you know, the age of Aquarius is a highly feminine age, and that the earth belongs to the grandmothers because the
Yes.
grandmothers don't want war. And the
No.
grandmothers know that all children are our children,
Yes.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So embodying that, you know, sacred grandmother. I am so happy, you know, to be considered, you know, finally able of the age to be a grandmother. You know, I think it's such an honor
Mm-hmm.
to hold this energy, you
That
know, and
wisdom.
to lead,
Yes.
yeah, to lead the
It's
others.
wise woman energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I really feel it's up to the wise women to lead the way right now and say, enough, enough, you guys, enough of your war, you
Yeah.
know, enough of your
There's
fighting.
Yeah, there's a really cool book that I use for my own spiritual growth practices that comes from Native American traditions. The book is called 13 Original Clan Mothers, and it's by Jamie Sams, and she's who created the animal medicine cards. But
Yeah.
it talks about the different sacred feminine spiritual teachings based on Native American spirituality for each lunar cycle of the year.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I have to look that up
And
because I've been using the medicine cards for years, like since the
yeah,
90s, since they came out. I mean, I have two decks. My old one, which is all worn and tattered, and then the new one that has some of the new animals in it too, that I got a few years ago. So I'll definitely have to look that up. That's something that
yeah, but that's a really good book. And then one that I pulled out, which was a huge influence for me way back in the day when I started getting into sacred dance, It's by Ted Andrews. He's passed on now, but he is from Ohio, which is where I'm from. So I had the honor of studying with him on spirituality and sacred dance in person for many years.
Wow.
Anyway, this book is called Magical Dance.
Wow.
And then it's subtitled Your Body as an Instrument of Power. And
I can see is Ted
yeah,
Andrews. Okay.
Ted Andrews. And the reason I wanted to reference this is because it has dance techniques and yoga techniques that you can use to embody the archetypes of the different planets and the different zodiac signs.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So it really aligns with what we're talking about today. So
I've never
anybody who's
even
into
heard of
that,
that's amazing.
yeah.
I mean,
This
I know
book came
Gabriel
out-
Roth and the 5 path to ecstasy, but I've never seen this.
So
Amazing.
Magical Dance, yeah. And anyway, this is a really good resource for anybody who's interested in exploring how to fuse astrological archetypes with yoga and dance.
Thank you so much. I'm getting it.
And that's even, I love, working with what we were talking about, like the astrology that's happening now, as far as like in the now, how am I doing my practice? But there's a whole other realm of what if you did a yoga practice or a sacred dance session about embodying the archetype of Venus per se, or just the archetype as a meditation, as a way of really.
That's what our friend Sophia Blanton does, Paula.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's Greek, she's Macedonian, so she really works with the Greek goddess archetypes and
awesome
into the Isadora Duncan. I should have her on.
Yeah.
Let's have a video chat with me, you, and her, and we can
that
talk
would be
about
awesome.
the archetypes. Oh my God, let's do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a whole other realm of just the archetypes of the planets,
and
the archetypes of the.
She's so fun to talk to. Her ideas are so well articulated. So that's our next video, woman.
Awesome. Yay.
Oh my gosh. So is there anything else you want to add to this before we close?
Let's see. I can't think of anything. Yeah, it's, I encourage everyone to just explore whatever their curiosity and interest is in interweaving the amazing information that we have available to us through astrology and yoga and any type of creative movement, which is also connected to meditation. For me in my life, it has been a staple of my own personal growth practices, and it's because it works.
Yes, and this is why it's so important for us to lead the way, because I feel like the dance world is really spiritually empty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not just the belly dance world. I'm talking ballet, everything, because the focus is on ticket sales. It's on how other people see you. It's on projecting the energy out. And I think it's time for us to take our power back as dancers.
Yep.
And to use it as prayer. So.
Yep. Totally. I agree. Yeah. So.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing. It's an honor. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, until next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to stop the video.